The Nets need a new coach and big worries for the Warriors. There's something we didn't expect to be saying this early in the season. Hello and welcome to Fox Sports Lab NBA. I'm Ben Dixon, your host, and here with me, as always, the guru, Jaymz Clements. Welcome, Jaymz.
Thank you, Ben. Happier than Pharrell to be here, mate.
Coming up, we apply the full court press to the under siege Nets. In Nothing But Net, we go big on the Bucks and the Suns. And then how about this? In buzzer beaters, we welcome a former NBA All-Star to the show. It's full court press time and the Nets have parted ways with their coach, Steve Nash. What does this mean, Jaymz, in the short term for the Nets?
It probably means a lot of ISO ball, a bit of confusion and, I don't know, relying on their talent to outscore teams, Dicko. That's what they've been doing already. So in the short term, probably not a giant amount. But really, look, with the mooted sort of moves that they're looking to bring in, like Ime Udoka as a coach or whatever, this is a team that is like Harry Styles at the moment, without one direction. They've they're being pantsed across the board in terms of like defensive efficiency, defensive rating, net rating, rebounding, three-point percentage for their opponents. It's pretty crazy. And look, Nash had a 94-67 record for the Nets. He was up against it the entire time. Barely ever had KD, Kyrie, James Harden ever play at the once. They played 16 games. Ben Simmons is sort of already on the shelf at the moment. It's a bit of a tough one, but really, going into this sort of season, we knew that it could be a bit of a dumpster fire. It already is. So in the short term, I'd be fading the Nets as hard as I possibly can. They play the Wizards this Saturday. The Wizards are going to just take them out to the back of the woodshed, I reckon, in that one.
Well, you mentioned Ben Simmons. What impact do you think this has on Ben? And you mentioned Ime Udoka as well, and can he help him?
A coach like Ime Udoka would help, I think, a lot for Ben Simmons, because Ben needs just someone to light a fire on him. Just go, Ben, go out there, stop him. Just stop him, mate. Just be a defensive menace. And that's exactly what Udoka does. Like when he took over the Boston Celtics last year, took them to the finals. Look, he took a team that was kind of middling, but halfway through the season, turned them around. They turned into a defensive menace, made it all the way to the finals. If he can do something vaguely similar with the Nets, which is a big if, but that's the sort of coach that you'd want for Simmons, right? And if he does and it clicks, he's a Defensive Player of the Year caliber player. We know that, so I just say, keep an eye on those Defensive Player of the Year odds.
What about the Warriors? Is it too early to just line up for the panic button and press it?
Press it? Nah. I mean, can they? No. Will they? Also, no.
Oh, there's your signature.
Look, they're 3-5, Dicko. Like, they play Orlando this week. They've got the Pelicans as well this weekend. Going up against Paolo Banchero on the Orlando Magic. I love Paolo. He is an absolute just weapon. He's out there doing stuff as a rookie that we've not seen anyone do since LeBron, basically. But look, the Warriors, what they're doing is trying to assimilate their young dudes. And we talked about this pre-season. Young dudes and the vets. They're resting their vets. This is the part of the season that doesn't matter for the Warriors. They're getting their young dudes playing. They'll be rolling. Look, Jordan Poole, I love him. He's getting paid a lot, but he's like traveling more than like what, an episode of Huey's Cooking Adventures at this point. He got called for 3 travels, I think, in the last game. But these are just like, you know, fit problems. They'll figure it out. They'll be fine. I reckon they have a get-right game there against the Magic. They can win that. They'll cover. The Magic play team's tough, but not in that one. The big question, though, is when they play the Pelicans. That's going to be a huge game for both teams.
Well, you've got more one-liners than me, so don't upstage the host here on this one. Right, the Pelicans, you mentioned their injury woes, but Zion is back. What difference does he make?
What difference does he make? Well, imagine if you've got a Mack truck that you just put on the middle of that court, strapped the Pelicans jersey onto it and just drove it straight at the basket. That's what Zion does. You should see, like, the point differentials when he's on and off the court are absolutely chaotic. He makes such a big difference to that Pelicans team when he's healthy. They're a really, really deep team as well. But when he's there, they become like a top 2, top 3 team in the West, a 50-win team. And when you ask, like, what sort of difference? Like a 10 to 15 win difference across the entire season, I dare say. If he stays healthy, that's their upside. They could challenge for the Western Conference. You put the ball in his hands, just let him go, and no one wants to stand in front of him. Like, you can't be called a coward for that either, Ben. I'll tell you that much. You just don't want to get run over. They play Atlanta this weekend as well as the Warriors, and those 2 games are going to be huge for the Pelicans. I think the Pelicans can win both of those pretty handily. Atlanta are fun. Atlanta are good. So are the Warriors, but I'll tell you what, the Pelicans are better.
I'll tell you what, you haven't disappointed with the fast start, and that was the full court press.
The betting brand for sports fans. That's better. Gamble responsibly.
Welcome to Nothing But Net, and let's zero in on the early season powerhouses. Jaymz, the Bucks and the Suns are setting the pace. Can they keep it up?
Can they, Dicko? Yes. Will they? Also, yes. I love the Suns and the Bucks because they tell me something that you need to keep in mind when you're talking about the NBA. at the moment as well, especially the chaos everywhere else. Continuity, Dicko. Continuity. And also defense. They're both top 3 defenses at the moment. That means they're going to you're going to go up against them, you're going to run into a brick wall, and it's really, really hard to score against both of these teams. And that's why they're going to basically be there at the end of the season, right? They're 2 amazing, amazing teams. And we've got, the Blazers going up against this Suns team. That's going to be a bloodbath, I reckon. The Suns will roll right over the top of them. We've got Aussie Jock Landale. He's crushing it, bombing from the outside, getting in amongst it. Rock'em, sock'em, jock'em, the Rooster. I love him. He's amazing. But then we've also got Wolves Bucks this weekend, which is a great setup because the Wolves are scrapping along with their new big centre, the Frenchman, the Stifle Tower, Rudy Gobert. The Bucks, look, it's a great matchup. There's one way that we've sort of learned how to stop Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's basically throw a bunch of bodies in front of him and hope for the best. And hope that he misses free throws. They've got 2 long dudes. That's what they do. They've got Karl Anthony Towns, they've got Rudy Gobert. And this will be a really, really good test for the Bucks, who just don't look like losing games at the moment, whereas the Wolves are scrapping along. I'll take the Bucks in that one. I'll take the Suns against Portland, but they should be 2 ripper games from 2 really, really good teams who'll be there at the end of the season.
All right, I like it. Now, I can't believe I'm saying this, James, but the Heat have needed a temperature check. They did beat the Warriors on Wednesday. Does this mean that they catch fire again?
It could. I mean, will they catch fire, Dicko? Maybe. Will they? I don't know. The tricky part is the Heat, look, they've gone out west. They've lost a bunch of games. They've come home. They beat the Warriors. Happy days. They play Indy, though, this weekend. And their super exciting rookie, Benny Mathurin. We call him Benedict. I'll call him Benny. That's how it rolls.
Benny boy.
He's got everything. I love this Indiana backcourt. Tyrese Halliburton, Benny Mathurin. There's just a little bit of excitement. They should be tanking, Dicko, but they're not. They're too good. They're too much fun. They're too young to tank. They just want to play. But look, this Heat team, we've sort of talked about it, how their entire vibe of defense, throw Jimmy Butler in front of everything else, hope for the best. Early season, early sticks, bit of a struggle. It will continue to be one. I reckon Indy can pop them here. I think this will be sort of a bit of a wake-up call for the Heat again. Indy, they've got that fire. I like them here.
All right, now we love our Aussies flying the flag in the NBA. How good is Josh Green turning it up for the Mavs?
Josh Green has been incredible for this Mavericks team. When they've thrown him out there, only good things have happened. I'll tell you what, Ben Simmons can learn a couple of things at the moment watching Josh Green play defense. It's like, that's how I used to move. Isn't that fun? But Greeny's been incredible. This Mavs team, though, is an absolute sort of hiding juggernaut because their offense is absolutely off the charts, led obviously by our man, Luka Doncic, out there dropping like a 38-8 every time he steps on the court. He's amazing. And if you're looking for some numbers there, that's the one to sort of roll with. But in terms of the way they've started their season, it's almost been too Luka-centric. He basically started off the season dropping, 6 straight 30-point games. No one's done that since Michael Jordan. It's incredible, but also worrying, right? When you're that sort of heliocentric around one dude like Luka, what are the other dudes doing? Are we feeding them enough? I think that when they play Toronto this weekend, it's going to be a huge test for this Mavs team, right? Toronto are nothing but length, long-rangey defenders, scoring sort of from all angles. But the Mavs, they're kind of like a slightly better version of that. So if they can win that Toronto game, watch out. But it's at home. The Mavs, I don't know. I like Toronto there. I kind of like it. There's just something going on with that Toronto team. The Mavs, if their threes are dropping, unbeatable. If they're not, Toronto have got the length to stop those threes. Give me the Raptors.
Well, you mentioned threes are dropping. Did you hear that? Swish! You nailed it. Absolutely outstanding. That was nothing but net.
The betting brand for sports fans. That's better. Gamble responsibly.
It's buzzer beaters time, and someone who knows how to shoot, 2-time NBA All-Star Carlos Boozer. Welcome to the show, Carlos. Great to have you with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Firstly, I'm going to ask you, the change of coach at Brooklyn, is that going to help our Aussie Ben Simmons?
Yeah, hopefully it does. I mean, he's been such a great player for the Philadelphia 76ers, was a 2-time All-Star there. Struggled a little bit in the last playoffs that he played in and hasn't quite got back to that same caliber of player. But if the Brooklyn Nets are going to compete and have a chance to go to the championship, to the finals, it's going to be because Ben Simmons has stepped his game up. So hopefully a change of coach, change of the voice that he's hearing can give him some more confidence.
I love it. That's great. I mean, here's hoping, Carlos, I reckon. But we've got a couple of your old teams, your former teams, playing in huge games this weekend. Let's start with Chicago. They've had a weird, scrappy start to this season, Carlos. Can they lift against Boston on Saturday? How are you feeling about the Bulls at the moment?
Yeah, the Bulls, I mean, they're a little banged up. You know, their star point guard, Lonzo Ball, is banged up with the knee, so he hasn't played this season quite yet. But they had a big win last night against the Brooklyn Nets. And they got two terrific wings in Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, good inside player in Vucevic. So they can definitely compete with Boston. But remember, let's not forget, Boston's a team that was in the NBA Finals last year, was 2 games away from winning a championship against the Warriors. So, you know, Jason Tatum's probably one of the top 5, top 10 players in the league. Jaylen Brown's very good. Going up against a very experienced Boston team should be a good game.
Anyway, man, Jaymz was a bit worried about the Celtics. What have you made of their up and down year so far?
Well, they had a little news in the offseason about their coach. Had to let Ime Udoka go as he had kind of an inappropriate relationship there in the front office. But, you know, they've hired a new coach. They're moving forward. They're a team that is built for the playoffs. They went through the Eastern Conference last year, beating Brooklyn, beating Miami, beating Milwaukee, and got to the finals and ended up losing to the Warriors. But they have a star player in Jason Tatum, who's a stud. Jaylen Brown is also a terrific basketball player, and they got a bunch of great players around them that complement those 2 stars really well. So they may have a bit of a slow start. We've seen slow starts from the Warriors, the Lakers, obviously Brooklyn, and some other teams, but definitely expect Boston to be right there at the end when it counts the most.
I love it. Another team that I absolutely love at the moment, Carlos, your very first team, the Cleveland Cavaliers. How are you feeling about the Cavs at the moment? Donovan Mitchell there, Evan Mobley. What do you think about them in this Eastern Conference at the moment?
Man, what a great pickup to get Donovan Mitchell over the summer. Just a superstar of a player. He'll be an all-star again this year in the Eastern Conference. And now they get Darius Garland coming back tonight off an injury. He's a phenomenal all-star type of point guard. And with the size that they have with Mobley and Allen, they're a team that's going to be a tough outcome playoff time. So I like what Cleveland did in the offseason. I think they have a bunch of studs on that team. And also look at Kevin Love's numbers in the first 5 games of the season. He's shooting lights out as a stretch power forward for them. So good to see that team playing well.
I love it. They're like one of the smokies going into this preseason, and now they might actually just be a contender. 2 other teams. 2 of your other former teams are going head-to-head this weekend. I absolutely love this. You've got the Utah Jazz, one of the surprise packets of the season, and the LA Lakers, another surprise packet, but for completely different reasons. Carlos, has the form of these 2 teams surprised you? How are you feeling about your old Jazz and your old Lakers team?
Yeah, I think before the season started, we would all have them flip-flop, right? We think the Lakers would be doing great, having a great season, and the Utah Jazz would be doing so-so. But it's been the exact opposite this year. You know, the Utah Jazz trade their 2 stars, Donovan Mitchell to Cleveland, Rudy Gobert goes to Minnesota, and somehow they got a bunch of hungry players that are just playing really hard for the Utah Jazz, led by Markkanen, who's doing a great job of leading them in scoring. They got Sexton from Cleveland in that deal with Donovan Mitchell, and he's just a great, tough player. And they got Jordan Clarkson, obviously, who's flashy and a hell of a scorer. And that Utah Jazz team is really full of hungry guys that want to compete, and they're playing like they have something to prove. You flip the script on the other side with the LA Lakers. You know, they got LeBron James, one of the best players of all time. They got Anthony Davis, one of the most talented players of this generation. And they got Russell Westbrook, obviously trying to figure out his role amongst it all. So new head coach in Darvin Ham. They're struggling. You know, they're trying to scrape away wins in the Western Conference. They're going to have a bit of a hard time, but if they can figure out how to play together, they still have a lot of talent on that team. Maybe they make a trade or 2 here throughout the course of the season, but both those 2 teams, I think, are in opposite spots if we would have predicted it before the season.
Okay, Carlos, this is why we've got you on the show. When I ask for a big call from my co-host, his head disappears in his jacket, right? So you're on the spot here. Who's your early tip for the championship and the MVP?
Yeah, I think for me, early pick, I mean, I'm a huge Warriors fan. Love the way that they play. I think they're a terrific basketball team and will have a chance to come out the West. But my early pick is the Milwaukee Bucks. I think they got the best player in the game in Giannis Antetokounmpo. Just a dominant force on offense, dominant force on defense. They got great players around him. Drew Holiday hit a big shot the other day to hold off, I can't remember what team it was, wherever they were playing. It was a great step back. Oh, Detroit Pistons. And then they got Chris Middleton, who's still hurt, but the Milwaukee Bucks are undefeated, haven't lost a game. I got them cutting the Nets down and winning the championship this year. And my early MVP, if Giannis doesn't win it again, which he could probably win it almost every year, it would be Luka Doncic. His numbers in Dallas are just off the charts. I think he's averaging like a 36 plus points a game, 8-9 assists, 8-9 rebounds, and really carrying that Dallas Mavericks team like he has done since he got to Dallas. But he's just putting up phenomenal numbers. So my early pick, Milwaukee Bucks for the championship, Luka Doncic for the MVP.
Absolutely love your work. Some big calls there, Carlos. You are a two-timer for every reason possible. Thanks very much for joining us on the show, and we'll hope to have you back soon.
My pleasure.
There you have it. That was Buzzer Beaters. James, another four-quarter performance from you. Love your work. Were you the MVP today or Carlos?
As a fellow two-time NBA All-Star, I'll give it to him. That's all right.
Oh, you surrendered very early on that one. Don't forget to subscribe below, and we'll catch you next week.